Governor, first of all, thank you so much for making time. I know you're extremely busy. I appreciate you being here very much. We have seen some incidents play out in Minnesota and in Louisiana and in Dallas over the last several days, the tail end of this week, that involve police brutality, gun violence, racial strain. This isn't the first instance where we've seen these types of confrontations and conflicts in America before. A lot of people say that what we have done to try to address it in the past is not working. Is it time for a new approach?
Well, most importantly, we need to make sure that we talk with reason and discipline as we discuss these matters, and leaders should not be encouraging and dramatizing the response beyond what it should be. The key thing here is our commitment to the rule of law. Our law enforcement officers do an extraordinary job out there keeping our society civil, making sure that we're safe in our streets and protecting ourselves. Yes, they make mistakes. Yes, we need to concentrate on training. And yes, we need to make sure we get rid of anyone who uses excessive force. Absolutely those things. But on both sides, we need to support the rule of law and hold people accountable when they make those mistakes. What happened in each of these cities is tragic. Most recently, what happened in Dallas just goes beyond the pale to think that law enforcement officers with families, with loved ones that support our community and really protecting a civil protest are targeted and attacked really undermines everything we're about in America. And so my heart goes out to them, and we obviously want to know more as to the reasons and whether this goes beyond simply a Dallas targeting. So there's a lot to watch here, a lot of work to be done. I've talked to Colonel Bryant, and obviously whenever you have peaceful protests, we support that. And that's what they were doing in Dallas. That was a peaceful protest. And they were as much victims of this as those in law enforcement, but the law enforcement was targeted. So let's pray for them and support our law enforcement and support more training as well.
This could have happened anywhere in America, and it could certainly have happened here in Arkansas somewhere. How would you have responded to the events that you've seen in Baton Rouge, in Minnesota, and in Dallas? What would you be doing right now if that had happened in, say, Little Rock, Arkansas?
Well, first of all, you got to be there. You've got to console the families. You've got to be concerned about making sure that this is prevented in the future, if at all possible. In terms of whenever police use excessive force or they don't respond in the right way, you've got to, first of all, look at the consequences, hold people accountable, look at the training that we're implementing, and try to really put, calm the waters. But in terms of what happened in Dallas, this is really, you almost have to deal with this in the same way you would deal with a terrorist attack. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got those targeting the foundation of Western civilization, the rule of law. And so you've got to get a handle on that. You've got to support the law enforcement and really stand with the families that have been so devastated by this.
You've talked to your head of state police here. Are you putting some measures in place in your administration right now as a result of what you've seen? Is there a change or course of action that you're taking?
Well, I mean, first of all, we have a great partnership with our local law enforcement, the Little Rock PD, all of the local law enforcement agencies, and they're the ones that are on the front line of protecting protest or the traffic stops that lead to confrontations sometimes. So we want to support them, but in terms of the state police, which is our backup agency, and they have their own challenges, it's about training, and Colonel Bryant has done an extraordinary job of enhancing the training to be able to respond to incidents of civil riot. That's what we've seen in other states. We've got to have a capacity in this state to respond in a way that doesn't lead to a Ferguson, but that leads to a reduction of the tension. And so I applaud them for the training. We've got to actually make sure that we recruit and train the best in law enforcement. So those are some of the focuses that we have.
I'm watching my Twitter feed over the last couple of days and seeing some of the emotional responses to what is happening in all of the communities that we've talked about. And gun laws are at the center of some of this debate here. There are going to be some people in 2017 that want to broaden some of the gun laws that are on the books right now, open carry, concealed carry. There's going to be some that want to tighten up those gun restrictions. Is that going to make a difference?
No, in the end, this is about people respecting the law, respecting people, treating people in the right way, and not committing acts of violence. I mean, that is fundamentally the challenge that we face. Now, you know, part of it always is reducing racial tension and you know, responding to legitimate needs in our different communities. But, you know, in terms of, you know, the gun debate, I think in Arkansas it's going to come down on the side of citizens need to be able to protect themselves in lawful ways and whether it's concealed carry or other means. And so I think that there will be a continued debate in it. I hope that common sense prevails and that we listen to each other in that debate.
Well, you know, you look at the circumstances in Minnesota. The gentleman that was killed had a concealed weapon with him, and he was a licensed concealed carry person there. I'm watching the streets of Dallas on Thursday night, and there is a guy with a large weapon strapped over his shoulder. Texas has more of an open carry policy there. I would be terrified if I was in that instance and there were things going on and I saw somebody walking down the street with a gun like that. You don't think that gun availability and that gun access undergirds this culture and the problems that we're having with this?
Well, the concealed weapon permit and the licensing for that has worked really very well. And what we saw happen in Minnesota is a very rare circumstance. Law enforcement knows how to respond to those who have a concealed weapon permit. They're used to it, they're accustomed to it, and deal with it appropriately. So that's a very rare circumstance. I am not an advocate of everyone in society carrying a weapon out in the open. That's not the society I want my children and grandchildren to grow up in. It's debated. I actually think that the Second Amendment and our Arkansas law yields to an open carry, but I don't advocate for it. I don't believe that that's what we want our culture to be about. And I don't think most people want to open carry weapons. I think they want weapons for protection in an appropriate way, and usually that's going through the concealed weapon permit process.
Let's change our focus here. You were about to head to Europe for trips to London and Berlin. You're going to be opening up an office in Berlin. You're going to be visiting the air show in London. What are you going to bring home from those experiences?
Well, I'm going to bring home continuing to build our presence globally, marketing Arkansas. I do not expect to come home with an announcement. We did last year, but that's not my anticipation this year. This is just doing the hard work of economic development. Whenever you look at the fact that we have a presence in Japan and in China, we don't have a presence in Europe. Opening up a European office is very important for us. As a state, we have one of our best global trading partners in Germany, France, the UK. Many companies, employees here in Arkansas are owned by European companies. And we want to be able to expand on that. We've got a great opportunity, whether it's the steel industry or whether it's aero defense, to be able to expand those opportunities in Arkansas. So down the road, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, I expect certainly production to come out of these trips, but sometimes you just do the hard spade work, and that's what we're doing this year.
Did the Brexit vote change anything in your estimation in terms of economic development and the European Union?
Actually, I think it increased the importance of this trip and the opening of the European office because now we have our longtime friend and ally, the UK, that's breaking off from the EU, so we want to make sure that relationship directly between Arkansas and the UK is strong and that we make any adjustments that needed, and likewise for the EU. So I think it gives us some opportunities, but primarily you want to go over there, continue building those relationships, and then seeing if we need to make any adjustments as a result of the Brexit vote. it is going to be a little bit of a slow process as they've had the vote, but they've got to actually implement that vote, which is going to be challenging and a lot of twists and turns in the months ahead.
When you come back from Europe, you pretty much head straight to Cleveland, and you're going to, as Doyle Webb, the GOP chairman, corrected me the other day in an interview, you will be leading the delegation from Arkansas at the GOP convention. What's your expectations for Cleveland?
Well, my goals for Cleveland, and this is in the political arena, but my goals is first of all to lead the Arkansas delegation, to have Arkansas a strong voice as we shape the next president, the Republican nominee. Donald Trump is a presumed nominee. I don't see any issue that might take that nomination away from him. I don't see any effort on Arkansas's part to do that.
Do you think the Dump Trump movement fizzles before the convention or at the convention?
I do. I don't think the anybody but Trump movement is going to go anywhere. You know, he's earned the votes, the delegates, they'll be responsive to that, and I see that we will coalesce around that. At the same time, the media is going to focus on the division, the people who are not there, the people who are not happy, you know, every little bit of controversy. So our focus has got to be on what is our real message, the contrast with Secretary Clinton, and what would a Clinton administration look like in contrast to a Republican administration led by Donald Trump. And that, to me, is an important distinction. Who's going to be our Secretary of Defense? Who's going to be the VP? Who's going to be the team that shapes the direction of the United States of America when it comes to the economy, when it comes to fighting terrorism, whenever it comes to the Supreme Court of the United States? That's the contrast that needs to be made at the convention. I'll hope to be a voice to make that contrast. And so it's really not all about Donald Trump, although he gets his share of attention. It is also about the overall Republican team and Republican message and the direction we would take this country.
Speaking role at the convention for you?
Well, we'll see. I'm in discussions with the convention organizers, the Trump campaign, about what role I'll play. I will be a surrogate speaker. I'm already speaking to the South Carolina delegation, some other delegations that are there, and they're talking to me about a speaking opportunity on the floor. We'll see how that develops.
As I look through our latest Talk Business and Politics Hendrix College polling numbers, I see Hillary Clinton kind of performing where a Democrat has performed traditionally in Arkansas at around 36%. Donald Trump was at 47%, which was about 10 points below where Mitt Romney was in 2012. Do you think Arkansas voters are not as enthusiastic about Donald Trump as they were maybe about previous Republican candidates? Are you enthusiastic about Donald Trump?
I think there's a wariness about Donald Trump. You know, a lot of enthusiasm during the primary process. Now that he's our presumed nominee, you know, what have we got here? And that's really the role of the convention and the burden on Mr. Trump to say, I know how to lead, I've done it in business, I can do it as president, this is what we're going to do, and give people confidence. That's what this fall campaign's about, and if he succeeds in that, then those numbers will go up in Arkansas. So the numbers are solid here, but at the same time, you know, that wariness needs to be diminished, and I'm confident and hopeful it will over the next couple months.
I sense from you a little bit of maybe you're not as enthusiastic about Donald Trump as you are enthusiastic about a Republican leadership team, a Republican administration. Am I making too big of a distinction there?
Well, no, I'm really articulating that way because I've told Mr. Trump personally that we disagree on some things. And I'm not going to ignore those disagreements. I want to shape the direction that he goes as a leader. And then we disagree on style as well. And so, you know, you can't hide from those areas of disagreement, and I don't want to be hypocritical and just say, you know, we're all just hunky-dory.
Right.
But at the same time, there's no doubt in my mind, and actually I have a growing level of enthusiasm and hope that this convention will demonstrate the strength of the Republican team that will be led by Donald Trump, our presumed nominee, and whoever he names as vice president. So, and you've got to contrast it with the direction that a third term of the Obama administration and what it would mean for Arkansas and the regulatory environment, to our economy, to our national defense posture. That's what this convention is about, and the messaging and the distinction that's going to be coming up in the next few months.